What I'm about to tell you happened to me 2 years ago and changed the trajectory of my life forever. My name is Missy, and this is the story of how my joy turned to sand in my mouth. And guess what? I allowed it happen. A lot happens in hospitals that we don't get to hear. Most of these things have become rumors. And most of these rumors are true. I'm a nurse. I graduated from one of the best universities in South Africa before moving to the US after marrying the love of my life. Now, let me stop and tell you that love is beautiful. It is not just beautiful, it is magical. I met Daniel while in the university, and he became the reason why I live and breathe. Judge me all you want, but I knew what love means because Daniel showed me. He was kind, calm, funny, gentle, and loved people. Daniel was the life of the party at every party we went to together. Sometimes I would get jealous, but his constant reassurance gave me hope. Daniel gave me hope. Well, they say you don't really know what you have until it's gone. I believe this now. Coming to the US was a big move for my husband and I. It was going to be the beginning of our happily ever after. Daniel had got a job with one of the biggest finance companies in the US, and the position came with mouth-watering benefits, health, housing, and bonuses on things I never thought we needed. We relocated with the mind that our prayers had been answered, and it actually was, but for what followed after. Our first month here was magical. Daniel made sure we explored as much as we could before he got too absorbed in work. Our house was so big and beautiful, a far cry from what we had in SA. One of my fondest memories of our first month was making love in all 3 rooms: the kitchen, the bathroom, the living room. We literally made love in every corner of the house, and it was beautiful. It could have stayed this way. It actually could have. After staying home for over 2 months, I decided to get a job. I applied to different hospitals, but I was not picked because they did not trust the integrity of my degree. I had to enroll for another nursing certificate. It was a tedious experience, but I had all the time in the world. After completing the certification here, I got a job in a teaching hospital, a little close to home. Although Daniel did not want me to work, seeing as we already had all we needed, and he was earning enough to feed a whole village in South Africa, I was able to convince him, after many debates on the issue. He came around and was really happy I got the opportunity. That night we celebrated in grand style, a romantic dinner punctuated by steaming hot rounds of lovemaking. Daniel made sweet love to me like it was going to be his last, like he knew that was going to be the last time we shared that kind of connection. And if he felt like that, he was not far from the truth. Getting that job was my undoing. St. Mary's Teaching Hospital opened me up to the other side of hospitals in the States. I can't let out much, but a lot happens, a lot of despicable things. I began work with an open mind. I wanted to meet people, love people, and be the best nurse ever, and that was exactly what I did. I was so good with patients that some regular patients requested for me to be their personal nurse. It was never about the money for me, but the money started coming in truckloads. I could now do things for myself without asking Daniel. Did it change the atmosphere in our home? No, Daniel was very happy we had 2 very solid income streams, but we were gradually losing touch of ourselves in a bid to grow our careers. Daniel would work long hours, trying to seal deals with big clients, and I would work day and night to make sure my patients got the best care they deserved. We had all the money we needed and blooming careers too, but the magic was gradually fading away. And when Dave came into the picture, I lost it all. Dave was the chief of surgery at my hospital, a tall mass of brown chocolate, broad shoulders, pink lips, and an air that commanded loyalty and respect. He was the youngest chief of surgery in the history of our hospital. Dave was so smart too, a complete package. How can one be this perfect and so cool about it? Dave was the Dr. Sean Murphy without autism. I was transferred to the surgical department when one of my long-term patients needed surgery and requested I was their nurse. It was supposed to be a short-term thing, till the patient recovered. I met Dave on my first day in the department. We had a briefing on my patient's case and the kind of surgery we were about to perform on the patient. But I could barely concentrate. Barely even heard a word of what he said. My mind was fixed on the movement of his lips, the broadness of his shoulders, and how his scrubs fit perfectly on his perfectly aligned body. It was wrong, thinking of my boss this way, but I couldn't help it. I bet other female doctors in that briefing thought the same thing too. After the briefing, Dave introduced me to other doctors as the latest addition to their department as requested by the patients. Other doctors were warm and welcoming, but the nurses, not so. I know now why the reception from them was cold. It was a struggle to get the man's attention, a very serious struggle at that. I was not going to be part of this struggle. Although my husband and I may be losing connection in our marriage, I still love him, and he loves me too. Why engage in a frivolous fight for the attention of a man that is probably married or in love with someone else? The day of surgery was just like any other day, but with a touch of hope. Dr. Dave saved my patient's life and did so in style. He made jokes in the OR and even engaged me in small talks. It was one of the most calming surgeries I had ever been in, and I was thankful for it. After the procedure, I went to Dave's office to thank him for saving the patient and for being kind while doing so. It was just the regular boss employee thank you, nothing serious. Dave smiled, with his perfectly white dentition, and thanked me too. "If you don't mind, sit with me for a while," Dave said, while holding my soul to ransom with his piercing brown eyes. I sat, like one under a spell, and that began a friendship that changed everything. Dave and I would talk at work and even through the night. Because of him, I began to take more night shifts and he did the same thing. We became best friends, telling each other everything going on in our lives. Dave knew I was losing touch with the connection in my marriage and knew that his ex had run off with her lover. We became each other's safe space, and as innocent as this friendship may sound, we both nursed secret desires for each other. I have caught Dave staring at me in that kind of way before, and he has caught me too. The desire was fostered by the unhealthy amount of time we spent with each other. Daniel, my husband, had his suspicions about Dave, but I succeeded in checking them. Dave is my boss and friend. He is going through a rough patch in his life, and I'm just being a kind person. That's all there is. I said this to Daniel during one of our heated arguments about the ridiculous amount of time I spend with Dave. He even threatened to confront Dave that day. "Darling, I love you. I don't see Dave that way. I can't do anything to hurt you. You know this." It is funny how well I lied just to protect my fantasy with my friend. We had not started doing anything yet, but I knew. We both knew, Dave and I, that it was a matter of time before we gave in to this burning desire. The first day we gave in to our desire was a random day in the hospital. It was a regular night shift. Dave and I were going for ward round that night and decided to hang out in one of the empty rooms. Unknown to me, this was a date-like situation. Dave had already prepared the room for us. Candles, champagne, the whole works. I was super surprised at this pleasant gesture. I couldn't remember the last time my husband took me out or even planned something this beautiful for us. We sat on the blanket and he poured us drinks. He was quiet, but with another kind of smile on his face. I knew what that smile meant. I had worn it with him too. I was wearing it now. He gave me the glass, said a toast, and we laughed. We drank in silence, and when the intensity of that silence heightened, he played Lionel Richie's Stuck on You and asked that we dance. I obliged. It was one of the most beautiful 5 minutes of my life, second only to my first dance on my wedding day. I remembered Daniel at that moment, and how beautiful our relationship was in South Africa. I missed him for what seemed like a minute, and shrugged it off. I was with Dave, and I would enjoy every moment of it. I held Dave close and felt his heart beating within his massive chest. I was safe. I felt safe. And before I could stop him, Dave had brought my head up and kissed me. It was first a brush with our lips, then it turned into a deep, passionate, and intense kiss. It was happening. What we both wanted was happening. But for some reason, I stopped Dave, thanked him for the hangout, and left. I wish I could tell you that I kept away from him after this. I wish I could tell you that I stopped being his friend, and we went back to being colleagues. What did they say about wishes again? I went home that night a little angry. I was angry at everything, at everyone. Why did I leave? Why is Daniel not giving me the attention he used to? And yet he complains that I'm spending too much time with a man that wants to? Daniel noticed me huffing and puffing in the house and asked me what was wrong in a calm voice. Looking back, Daniel was really calm with me. I retorted, "Nothing. I'm fine. It's fine." Daniel took my word for it and continued working. I was going to burst. I wanted to burst. But no. I held it in, took a cold bath, and had the most beautiful dream ever. I made up my mind. I was going to go on that ride with Dave, and I was going to enjoy it. If there was an award for the wrongest decision ever made by a woman, I think in that instant, I just clinched the award. The next day at work, I went to Dave's office. He was really surprised to see me. I stood there looking at him. We stared at each other for about 20 minutes before Dave decided to walk to me. It was one of the most confusing and clear moments of my life. I wanted him, yet I did not. And for some weird reason, I did not want to leave his office. I did not want to run off like I did yesterday. Daniel had not touched me in weeks. We see little of each other to engage in any form of intimacy. But here is Dave staring at me, boring deep into my soul. He drew me in and kissed me. Dave kissed me hard. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not Daniel, not my job, not the fact that someone could come in on us. Nothing. Dave stopped and told me to walk with him. We went to the same empty room of yesterday, and he took me in again. The kisses were gentle and rough, hard and soft. I wanted everything. I wanted to feel every inch of him. He located my breast and fondled it while kissing me, talking about it now, and I can see him grabbing my breast, grabbing my behind, breaking me, making me. The intensity was so high we did not notice that one of the nurses had come in on us and had quietly left. Dave was all over me now, and so was I. But it wasn't going to end well. This pleasure was about to change, and the change happened fast. Faster than the speed of light. I had left home angry that morning, forgetting that it was my 5th wedding anniversary. Daniel noticed I was angry, so he left me be. I had no idea he had planned a trip for me and was going to come pick me up at work. Daniel came to the hospital, most of the nurses knew him, and asked to see me. They checked the little spot I called my office, but found my purse on my table. Daniel became apprehensive. They looked around for me, until the nurse that walked in on saw the search party and decided to put them out of their misery. She brought them directly to where I was. By that time, I was bent over on the bed, with Dave deep inside me. It was scandalous. I can remember the hurt on Daniel's face, the betrayal, the pain. The other nurses held him from causing a scene and called security to take him out. Before he left, Daniel took off the wedding ring and threw it in the bin. It was over. I knew it. But that was only the beginning. That act of sweet pleasure cost me my job, my not-so-beautiful but fixable marriage, and my career. Daniel left me. We did not get a divorce. I just went by the house to pick my things. This may be sad, but not as sad as what I heard later on. Apparently, Dave had done the same thing with most of the nurses in the department. All in that room. It was a rite of passage for him. However, not all of them had met the kind of unfortunate situation that I met. Now I'm single, sad, and nursing a wound I don't want to heal from. Dave was a beautiful experience, one I may have again if time permits. But was it worth it? I think you can answer the question yourself. Oh, before I forget, Daniel married again and has 2 boys now.